that emotion, it spills and it leaks and then it lands on these people who were never even the source of it. Hear that part because this is where it gets personal. Some of you are not reacting to what is happening right now. You're reacting from everything you have not let yourself feel. Welcome back to Watch Me. This is the podcast where we challenge the stories in our heads, break mental health stigmas, and stop letting our past, our pain, and our own mind convince us that we are too much, too broken, too dramatic, or too far gone. I'm Lauren, but you can call me Lo, and today we are talking about feelings, real feelings, the ones people love to talk about like they're cute and manageable and wrapped up in like a little self-care bow. The ones people throw around in phrases like, just feel your feelings, as if it's that simple, as if feelings are not one of the hardest things that some of us have ever had to learn. Because for a lot of us, feelings have never felt soft. They have felt exposing, inconvenient. They have felt dangerous. They have felt like the second we let them up to the surface, they're going to swallow us whole or make other people see us differently. And that's what I want to get into today because I need you to hear me on this. Emotions are not the enemy. Feeling deeply is not the problem. Your sadness is not the problem. Your anger is not the problem. Your fear is not the problem. The problem is what happens when you get so scared of your emotions that you start shoving them down, outrunning them, judging them, numbing them, or putting the blame on everybody else. That is what causes damage, not the feeling itself, the fear around it, the shame around it, the avoidance of it. And I want you listening to this to really stay with me, not just as somebody hearing my story, but as somebody willing to look at your own. I want you to notice where you feel this in your body. I want you to notice if your stomach drops, if your chest tightens, if a part of you wants to shut this off because it's getting too close. Because that means something, and that's not random. Those feelings aren't random. The truth is trying to come forward. And I think a lot of us started way too young and learned way too young that emotions were a problem. We were not taught emotions were information. We weren't taught that emotions were temporary. We were taught that they were inconvenient or dramatic or disruptive, something to go deal with privately until we were acceptable again. And that was definitely true for me. I was told I was too dramatic. I was told to go to my room and come out when I calmed down. And I think that messed with me for a long time because let's be honest, how is a child supposed to know how to calm down if nobody's ever taught them how? How are you supposed to regulate something you don't even have a language for yet? So what I learned was not emotional regulation. What I learned was that my feelings made me a hassle or that being emotional made me too much. What I learned that if I was hurting, I should go somewhere else with it. And that does something to a kid because now you're not just sad or angry or overwhelmed. Now you're lonely. Now you're ashamed. Now the feeling itself hasn't only become pain. The meaning attached to the feeling becomes pain. And that's such a big piece of this because you are not just carrying sadness. You are then carrying sadness and then the shame of actually being sad. The shame of even feeling that feeling in the first place. You're not just angry. You are angry and immediately judging yourself for being angry. You're not just overwhelmed. You are overwhelmed and telling yourself that if you were stronger, more together, less emotional, you would not be feeling this way in the first place. That second layer of that emotion, the judging part of it, is brutal. When you are little, everything feels huge. Everything feels permanent. A bad moment just feels like the end of the world. I tell my kids that all the time. When they're having a bad day at school, my son is 11. When he's having a bad day and something is really overwhelming, I tell him like, this is a blip in the grand scheme of things. Like life goes on, but you don't know that. That's your entire life in that moment. And if nobody teaches you that feelings are fleeting, if nobody gives you those words or helps you understand what's happening in your body and your mind, then you start associating those feelings and those emotions with danger and isolation, with being too much, with being sent away until you could be easier to handle. So maybe nobody literally told you to go to your room and maybe your story looked different, but I want you to think about what your version was. Maybe people got cold when you cried. Maybe they made fun of you for being sensitive. Maybe they acted like your emotions were embarrassing. And if that was your lesson, of course, feeling is hard now. Of course, vulnerability feels risky. Of course, you learn to shove things down. That did not come from nowhere. Then for me, life layered something even heavier on top of that, which was in the broad scheme of things, just mental illness in general. There were seasons of my life, especially in the beginning of my diagnosis, where my feelings did not just feel intense. It made them feel unsafe and they were hard to trust. They felt bigger than me. I was being told my brain was lying to me and I was having all these emotions and I didn't know what was real in my head or what was being made up because of my mental illness. And if they feel like if I followed them too far, I didn't know where they would really take me. They made me, I mean, my reality was just not the same as everybody else's. There'd be a situation, I would get angry, I'd get in a fight because I took something wrong, because whatever that person said, my brain decided to wrap around in a whole different bow and tell me something. There were so many times when the people around me were like, Lauren, that's not what I said. But like, I was so convinced that's exactly what they said. Times when like what I was experiencing inside was like distorted and overwhelming, and that made it like deeply confusing. So now it's just like, not, wow, I just want to cry. It becomes like, can I even trust what I'm feeling right now? Like, is this even real? If I let this in, is it going to get bigger? If I stop holding myself together, am I going to lose my grip? If other people see this, are they going to see a human having a hard time? Or if I feel this emotion too intensely, are they going to see, oh, she's just unstable? That fear was so real. And I think that matters because some of us, emotions don't just feel uncomfortable, it feels dangerous and exposing. For me, vulnerability feels like my stomach drops. That's like the exact sensation. My stomach drops and suddenly I just feel naked. Like I'm standing outside naked in front of a crowd, in front of a classroom, you know, that like nightmare we all have where we're like naked in front of a crowd or a class. Like people see too much. All parts of me I work so hard to keep together and are suddenly visible. And then underneath that is this really fear, like real fear that people will judge me if I'm not strong, that they will see one hard moment and then turn it into a whole story about who I am. So sit with that for yourself. What is that word? Mine's vulnerability. So what is that word you are afraid people will use if they see your real feelings? Is it unstable, weak, needy, dramatic, irrational? And then once you figure that out, that word matters because that word is usually the reason you keep hiding. A lot of us are not scared of emotions. We are scared of what people will decide about us if they see them. And because of that, avoidance starts looking like protection, starts looking smart or necessary. And you start thinking like, I don't have time for this. I need to stay strong. I can't fall apart. I can't be a burden. I can't get stuck here. And so you push it down, and pushing it down does not make it disappear. It just makes it come back 100 different ways and most likely way more intense. And that's been so true for me. When I suppress feelings, it turns into doom scrolling. It looks like rage cleaning. I'm a big rage cleaner. I will deep clean this whole house if I feel something else in my life is like out of control, or if I'm angry, honestly, or disassociating on the couch and not really being in my life. Or I tend to snap at my kids when they weren't even the real issue. Or like me getting angry. I have an anger issue because being angry is easier than the truth. Anger is easier than sitting with guilt. It's easier than facing shame. It's easier than admitting I feel hurt or scared or disappointed. Anger lets me feel armored because vulnerability makes me feel exposed. And remember, I don't want to feel vulnerable. That's like my word. So think about that in your own life. What feelings do you reach for because it protects you from the real feeling underneath it? Because most of us have one. So I call this a bodyguard emotion. We have this emotion that shows up first because it feels safer than the deeper one underneath. And until you get honest about what your bodyguard emotion is, you will keep thinking the anger is the issue when the anger is often just the cover story or whatever word you've decided to use. So that's why suppressed feelings don't vanish. They wait and they start driving this car of your life. They start showing up in reactions that don't match the moment. They can show up in your marriage, in your friendships, in your patience, in your parenting, in your body. They start turning little things into these big things because they're landing on top of the 10 things you never let yourself process. And I have seen that. I've seen that in my own marriage, like this guilt. I get this motherhood guilt that I'm not either doing enough with my kids, spending enough time with my kids, I'm not giving them enough, the word enough. And I end up, instead of processing that, I end up projecting that on my husband, and I'll start to get on him. Like, hey, you're not spending enough time with the kids. You're video gaming too much, when none of that is true. And I just make him feel bad because I don't want to deal with this unprocessed emotion. And I'd rather sit together with somebody in this emotion than like face it myself. So that emotion, it spills and it leaks and then it lands on these people who were never even the source of it. Hear that part because this is where it gets personal. Some of you are not reacting to what is happening right now. You're reacting from everything you have not let yourself feel. Some of you are not angry about the dishes or the text or the tone. You are carrying grief and guilt and exhaustion, shame, resentment, disappointment, fear, and all of it's looking for a place to land. You know what? Let me tell you this story. We call it the kitchen towel story. And in the towards the beginning of our marriage, my husband used to have a headlight business where he custom did headlights for cars. And he would have to do it in the oven and in the kitchen to like separate the headlight from like the back or whatever to get into the body of the headlight. And he would use my kitchen towels to like lay the headlight on. And it would get, God, what do you even call it? Like the glue from the headlight. It would get on my kitchen towels and ruin my kitchen towels. And I would continue to tell him, please don't use my kitchen towels. And I would get so mad because I cared so much about these TJ Maxx, Ross, Walmart, $3, $4 towels. And I'd care so much. And so I highly suggest therapy for everybody. Marriage therapy is a great thing. We loved it. So I was telling our therapist about this kitchen towel situation. She was like, so is it really the kitchen towels? I was like, yes, of course, it's really the kitchen towels. Do you not hear what I'm telling you? I'm upset about these kitchen towels. And she was like, well, what's it make you feel? I'm like, well, I've been telling him this so often. I don't feel heard. I don't feel like my voice matters. So is it really the kitchen towel situation? Do I really care about these $2, $3 kitchen towels? Or do I care about not feeling heard? And all I could think about were these kitchen towels, when in reality, all I had to tell him was he's not listening. What else is new with a man? But we're over it. We're great. And now we laugh about the kitchen towel situation. So your emotions are not ruining your life. My need to feel heard, that's not ruining my life. But the refusal for acknowledging that was ruining my life. And your body knows that before your mind is ready to admit it. When I hold things in, my body tells on me. My back hurts, my stomach hurts, I get nauseous and headaches and eye pain. I hold tension in my shoulders. Most of my emotions I hold in my shoulders. So I know if I get tense and like feel like I need a massage, that means I have some unprocessed emotion. I bite the inside of my cheeks. I'm a huge like gnar on my cheeks. My body carries what I don't let out. And I think a lot of us do that. We call ourselves stressed. We call ourselves tired. We call ourselves fine. I hate that word, fine. Meanwhile, our nervous system is basically like filing these complaints every day. So think about it. Where in your body do you hold what you won't say? Where do your feelings live when you don't give them words? Because a lot of times your body is speaking the truth before your mouth ever does. And the part that really humbled me is like, I'm very self-aware. I usually can tell you exactly why I feel the way I feel. I can get to the root of it fast. I can explain the wound, explain the trigger, explain the pattern or the fear. I can name it. I can analyze it. I can make it make sense. And I still don't process it. And that's when it's been like the biggest lesson for me, because understanding your feelings is not the same as moving through it. Naming it is not healing it. You can be self-aware as hell and still be emotionally avoidant. You can know exactly what's happening and still never let yourself feel it enough to release it. And I think so many women do this. We become brilliant at insight. We can explain ourselves beautifully. We know the trauma, we know the trigger, we know the reason, but then we keep pushing through it because we don't have time, because everyone needs something from us, because we think being functional means that we're okay. But functioning is not the same as healing. Functioning is not the same as healing. Holding it together is not the same thing as being okay. Being productive is not the same thing as being present. And I think a lot of women, especially moms, need to say that out loud. Moms swallow a lot. We are supposed to be strong for our kids, for our marriage, strong for work and for the house, and strong for everybody. We manage the emotional weather of the whole damn household while privately not trying to drown in our own storm. That's so exhausting. We are trying to teach our kids emotional regulation while we're still trying to figure it out for ourselves. You are trying to be their safe place, but learning how to be a safe space for yourself. You are trying to break these patterns nobody has ever taught you how to break. You're trying to be honest without scaring your kids, open with them without putting too much on their shoulders, and strong without becoming emotionally unavailable. That's a lot. And maybe you're the first one in your family doing this, the first one to really even talk about emotions. Maybe you're the first one trying not to raise kids who feel ashamed of what's happening inside them, or the first one teaching them that feelings can be named and survived instead of hidden and punished. Because that matters. That work matters. But it's messy work. Because sometimes that looks beautiful and healing, and sometimes it looks like hiding in your room or your pantry or your closet, trying to pull yourself together for 5 minutes because it feels like too much. Both of those things can be true. And what I try to do with my kids is what I wish somebody had done with me. I tell them it's okay to not be okay. I'm honest that my brain is mean to me sometimes. As a bipolar mom or somebody dealing with a mental illness, you have to be honest with that. I'm hoping to raise my kids with empathy, knowing that people go through things that you have no idea what they're going through. Invisible illness is a real illness. I'm honest about my medication. I let them see me cry. And when I snap and it has nothing to do with them, most importantly, I apologize. I apologize when I snap and I know I was wrong, no matter who it was, especially my kids. I get down on my knees, I look them in the eye, and I say, I'm so sorry. That was not your fault. Mommy snapped at you for no reason. I am sorry. That matters to me so much because my kids do not need me to be perfect. They need me to be honest. They need to know feelings can be confusing, but that they can still be handled. They need to know that hard feelings don't mean go away until you're lovable again. They need to know that mom will help them sort it out, that we can repair, and that these emotions aren't shameful. And even if you're not a parent, that question still applies. What are the people around you learning from the way you handle emotion? Do they experience honesty from you or avoidance? Do they feel emotional safety with you or just this polished fake version? Are your relationships built on truth or on everybody quietly pretending they're fine? Because avoidance always costs something. It costs intimacy, presence, joy, it costs peace, connection with people, or your ability to fully be in your own life. And at some point, you have to ask yourself what that bill has looked like for you. What has emotional avoidance cost you? Not like vague, but like an actual life. Has it cost you rest? Are you up, tossing and turning, and you can't go to sleep and your mind is roaming and that's all you can think about? Or cost you softness and you're like me and you just get angry and the patience goes with people that you love? Has it cost you time because you checked out, you're angry, you're numb, you're in your own head? Like cost you your own happiness? Because for me, it has. It's cost me parts of my marriage. It's cost me presence with my kids. It's my own happiness and fulfillment. And that's the part that makes you really start paying attention when you realize the suppression is not actually protecting you anymore. It's stealing from you. And that's where your shift is going to start, not in never feeling and not in becoming less emotional or pretending these hard feelings don't exist. The shift starts when you stop treating the emotion like a threat and start treating it like information. I love this short line. Feelings are just visitors. Let them come and go. That does not mean let them like wreck the house when they're visiting. It means like stop acting like every feeling is this permanent residence in your house and a personal failure. Sometimes a feeling is just showing up to tell you something. It's there to point, to reveal, to signal, to ask for attention, to tell the truth your mouth has been avoiding. And the thing I keep learning over and over is that feeling your feelings is not the same thing as becoming them. It's not drowning in them. It's not handing them the keys and saying, okay, go ruin my day. It's being honest enough to acknowledge them and curious enough to ask what they're trying to tell you. So now when something comes up, I try to slow down. I try to acknowledge it. I try to thank it for coming up instead of immediately fighting it. I ask myself, is this a real feeling? What caused it? What is underneath it? What's it trying to tell me? What do I need? How do I honor this and still move on from it? That last part is huge for me. How do I honor it and still move on from it? Because the goal is not to get stuck. The goal is to live with your pain forever. The goal is to stop fearing it so much that it has to keep screaming to get your attention. When I actually let myself feel something all the way through, I swear it changes everything. It releases, it feels like a huge weight off my shoulders. I get exhausted sometimes because I realize how long I've been living in fight or flight. I sleep because my body finally feels safe enough to come down. I get clarity. I move through things faster. They have this shorter shelf life in my life. They stop controlling 10 other things. They stop leaking out everywhere. And that's the irony. The thing you're most afraid to feel is often the thing that would free you the fastest. It would just, if you would just let yourself sit with it. There's another short line I like. The emotions that can break your heart, sometimes the very one that heals it. And that's true. That's why I think a huge part of healing is not just feel your feelings, because honestly, that phrase is too vague to be helpful. I think the real work is figuring out how to process best. For me, I process things out. I'm a verbal processor. I need a sounding board, not a solver. I go to my husband or my best friend. I go, I don't need you to fix this. I just need to talk until I can hear myself clearly. Because that's how it usually works for me. I'll start talking about one thing and then halfway through, I realize that's not even the real thing. The real thing is deeper. The real thing is older. The real thing is like under the thing. Talking helps me find it. Like a lot of times I'm talking, I'm like, shit, that's really what it is. I guess it's not that. Journaling helps me too. Sometimes I need to get it out of my head and onto paper. When it stays in my head, it just gets like louder and messier. Writing slows it down. It gives it shape. It helps me see it instead of just like drowning in it. I do these things called morning pages every morning where I like brain dump whatever I'm thinking for 3 pages in the morning. You can do it for shorter, but I notice once I get to like 2.5 pages, it unlocks like this whole thing I'd never processed before. It's really cool. If you haven't done it, just Google morning pages and it'll teach you how to do it. And that might not be your way. Maybe you process best by moving. Maybe you need to walk or you need to drive. I think great when I drive. Maybe you need quiet or you need to go cry in the shower. Maybe you need therapy or structure. Maybe you need to ask yourself what happened, what you're feeling, what got triggered, what you need. The point is to not have this perfect healing routine. You will do things and it might not work for you, so try something else. The point is to like find something that gets you to be honest with yourself. Not how do I stop feeling like this, but like how do I process this best? What helps me tell the truth? What helps me release? What helps me understand what's really going on instead of just reacting to it? Because once you figure it out, that's what shifts it. You stop making every feeling feel like a crisis or being afraid of what comes up. And most importantly, you stop judging yourself for not processing the way somebody else does. Stop thinking that like you're healing wrong just because your way looks different. Now, that's what I keep learning over and over. Feeling your feelings is not the same as becoming them. It's not letting them run the show or drowning in them. It's just being honest enough to acknowledge them and then curious enough, most importantly, curious enough to ask what they're trying to tell you. So for me, processing looks like slowing down enough to notice what's happening instead of immediately scrolling past it. Clean past it, work past it, get angry enough to avoid it. It looks like asking, okay, what is this really? What caused this? What is under this? And what do I need? How do I honor this and still move forward? How do I honor this and still move forward? Because the goal is not to get stuck here. The goal is not to let every feeling become your whole identity. The goal is to stop being afraid of your emotions. Sadness has helped me grieve things I needed to grieve. Anger has shown me boundaries. Shame and guilt have pointed me towards wounds that still need compassion and repair. Fear has revealed what mattered. Grief has shown me how deeply I've loved. So no, feelings are not the enemy. They're the messengers, sometimes annoying messengers, loud messengers, sometimes inconvenient little gremlins kicking down the door at the worst possible time, but they're still messengers. And I want to say this directly to you. You are not weak because you feel deeply. You are not unstable because something has affected you. You are not broken because your nervous system has reacted. You are not failing because old stuff still comes up. You are human. You are having a human experience. And the more you stop turning every feeling into a character flaw, the more peace you get back. So the next time something hard rises up in you, I don't want your first move to be bury it or distract or scroll or shut down or tell yourself to get over it. I want your first move to be breathe, notice it, get curious, ask what it's trying to say, ask what it needs, and whether this is about something now or something older. Ask what your body is trying to tell you. What are you making this mean about yourself? The lesson is not just to feel the feelings, it's to stop being so afraid of what your feelings mean about you. That's where healing starts. Not when life gets easier, not when you stop having triggers, not when you become some perfectly regulated Zen woman who never loses it in her kitchen. Healing starts when you stop punishing yourself for being human, when you stop shaming yourself for having an inner world. It starts when you decide honesty is safer than pretending. And maybe nobody taught you that when you were younger. Maybe nobody taught you that feelings are fleeting or gave you language, or nobody helped you sort through the chaos in your head. Maybe nobody made room for your sadness or your anger or your fear, but that does not mean you are stuck there. You get to learn now. You get to teach yourself now. You get to teach your kids now and build relationships where truth is safer now. That changes families and marriages. That changes the way people carry themselves through the world. So if you take anything from this episode, your emotions are not the danger. Your shame around them is. Your fear of them is. Your avoidance of them is. But the feelings themselves are trying to tell you the truth. And the truth is not there to destroy you. It's to free you. That's the work. That's the healing. That is the strength. And I hope today you let yourself be honest about what's really going on inside you, not to drown in it, not to make it your whole identity, but to finally stop running from yourself, because emotions are not the enemy. Running from them is. And I'll end like I always do. I love you. I am proud of you. I believe in you. And if you are in a season of your life where loving yourself, being proud of yourself, or believing in yourself is hard right now, that's okay. Until you can do that on your own, borrow mine. Let my love, my pride, my belief in you carry you a little farther. You are not waiting on confidence. Confidence is waiting on you. So now go choose yourself. And if this episode spoke to you, make sure you subscribe, leave a review, and share it with somebody who needs it. You can also follow me over on Instagram at the Lauren Fritz and TikTok and YouTube at the Watch Me Pod. See you next time, guys.